We are rolling on into 2024 and already there has been a slew of fantastic fantasy and sci-fi books. But in February, they just keep coming. And I have taken it upon myself to keep you up to date with all the new releases in the fantasy and sci-fi space. So let's look at some books releasing in the month of February. Releasing February 6th, we have The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. In Dirtana's most opulent mansion, a high imperial officer lies dead, killed to all appearances when a tree spontaneously erupted from his body. Even in this canton at the borders of the Empire, where contagions abound and the blood of the Leviathans works strange magical creatures, it's a death at once terrifying and impossible. Called in to investigate this mystery is Anna de Labra, an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is only matched by her eccentricities. Featuring an unforgettable Holmes and Watson style pairing, a glorious labyrinthine plot, and a haunting and wholly original fantasy world, The Tainted Cup brilliantly reinvents the classic mystery tale. This one has already been getting top tier reviews, and from the author of the Foundryside trilogy as well as the City of Stairs trilogy. He's already well known and I cannot wait to give this fantasy mystery that sounds kind of Sherlock Holmesy a try. Also releasing on February 6th we have Stone and Tide by Z.S. Diamante. This is a sequel to Stone and Sky, and these covers are stunning. The first one has a griffin on it and the second one has a dragon. Now this is a trilogy and the third book is also dropping this year, I believe. And these are currently on Kickstarter, so if you want a hardcover copy, definitely check it out in the description below. But because the new book is a sequel, we will go over the synopsis for book 1 and then you'll know if you want to read on to book 2 or not. From across the sea, a shadow rises. A lone survivor may be the kingdom's only hope against annihilation. Oren is a sworn protector. As a stalwart member of the Griffin Guard, he's proud to protect the kingdom against a dreaded nation of orcs. But when the fires of war burn bright from the north, his entire squadron falls to deadly wyvern riders, leaving the devastated Oren bloody and alone. With his squad dead, Oren has his mind set on saving others from the same fate. Teaming up with a local huntsman family, Oren and his new friends must push themselves past their limits to face mysterious dangers and ancient magics. Shocked to discover the Ark's secret weapon, the Lone Guardian's chance to save his home could require the ultimate sacrifice. This sounds really classical fantasy. It's got orcs, it's got wyverns, it's got griffins. So if you're looking for some classic epic fantasy goodness, definitely check these out. Also releasing on February 6th, we have The Trials of Empire, the third book from Richard Swan's Empire of the Wolf trilogy. Because it's book 3 that's coming out, we will look at the synopsis for book 1, because then you'll know if you said it earlier, you got it. The Empire of the Wolf simmers with unrest. Rebels, heretics, and powerful patricians all challenge the power of the imperial throne. Only the Order of Justices stand in the way of chaos. Sir Conrad von Volt is the most feared justice of all, upholding the law by way of his sharp mind, arcane powers, and skill as a swordsman. At his side stands Helena Sedanka, his talented protege, orphaned by the wars that forged the Empire. When the pair investigates the murder of a provincial aristocrat, they unearth a conspiracy that stretches to the very top of imperial society. Will they abandon the laws they've sworn to uphold in order to protect the Empire? One thing I really like the sound of with this trilogy is that we do follow Helena. It's really interesting to have it from her perspective and see everything through the protege's eyes rather than the main justice himself. Like I said, this is a really highly rated trilogy, and now that book 3 is coming out, you can binge the whole thing. And releasing on February 13th, we have probably the weirdest book on this list, Gogmagog, the first chronicle of Ludwig. Gogmagog tells the story of an epic journey through the 60-mile-long ghost of a dragon. Travel is by boat, a rickety steam launch captained by veteran taxi pilot Katie Mead on the river Nisus. In her heyday, Katie carried people and goods from the thriving seaports of the estuary into Ludwig, the capital city. Now she's drunk, holed up in a run-down seaside resort, telling her bawdy tales for shots of rum. All that's about to change when two strangers seek her out, asking for transport. One of whom, a young girl, is very ill and in great danger. The other, an artificial being of singular character, has secrets hidden inside his crystal skull. So begins the voyage of the Juniper. A washed-up sea captain set on this new voyage through this mystical stream that goes through the ghost of a dragon? What? This is what I'm going to keep my eye on. Releasing February 15th, we have the sequel to Godkiller, Sunbringer. Godkiller was everywhere when it released, so if you've been waiting for the sequel, it is coming out on February 15th. And let's look at the synopsis for Book 1. Kissen's family were killed by zealots of a fire god. Now she makes a living killing gods, and enjoys it. That is until she finds a god she cannot kill. Skedi, a god of white lies, has somehow bound himself to a young noble, and they are both on the run from unknown assassins. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, they must travel to the ruined city of Blenradin, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favour. Pursued by demons and in the midst of a burgeoning civil war, they will all face a reckoning. Something is rotting at the heart of their world, and only they can be the ones to stop it. I've not read these yet, but I will say that they are some of the most unique covers I have seen in recent years. They really stand out. Coming out on February 20th, we have Demon's Rage by David Estes and Ben Galley. Now, this is the sequel to Demon's Reign. This series has been described as Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Venom, and it's progression fantasy. This just sounds so cool. Perfect for fans of Iron Prince, Cradle, and Kingfall. I need it. Let's look at the synopsis for Book 1. Tarkosi Tarelta is a nobody who will save his world from demons and the hellfire they bring. The third born of a shamed family, Tarkosi's lot in life is to spend his days as a worker, feeding temperamental lacewings under a harsh master. His days in the bloodwood city of Shalgara are full of drudgery, tedium, and pain. His own ambitions cast aside in the name of order. That is until demons from a broken world invade the forest realm of the Swath, and an accident born of violence and dark magic intertwines Tarkosi's fate with the greatest among them. Forced onto the front lines of a war forgotten by history, Tarkosi must balance battling the royal demon bound to him with the rapid progression of the magical abilities its presence has bestowed. Risking everything, he will need to tread a thin line between hero and heretic to keep Shalgara from falling into ruin and chaos. This sounds right up my street. And like I said, I do want to try more progression and lit RPG books, so perhaps I'm going to fit this into sometime this year, because these books do sound, that means good. Coming out on February 20th, we have A Temptest of Tea. On the streets of White Roaring, Arthi Casimir is a criminal mastermind and collector of secrets. Her prestigious tea room transforms into an illegal bloodhouse by dark, catering to the vampires feared by society. But when her establishment is threatened, Arthi is forced to strike an unlikely deal with an alluring adversary to save it, and she can't do the job alone. Calling upon a band of misfits, Arthi formulates a plan to infiltrate the dark and glittering vampire society known as the Ethereum. But not every member of her crew is on her side, and as the truth behind the heist unfolds, Arthi finds herself in the midst of a conspiracy that will threaten the world as she knows it. Heists, vampires, tea rooms, misfit ragtag group of betraying people. This really does just tick a bunch of tropes and boxes that just sound so good. I had to include this one just because it is so different. Coming out on February 27th, we have Kindling, which is probably one of the best covers this month. I absolutely love this cover. This is a fantasy standalone, which is quite rare nowadays, so if you're looking for a standalone, this might be one to check out. It takes place in a war-ravaged world where they use kindlings, which are kind of these elemental magic-using teenagers. However, they have now been outlawed, so this follows this group of 7 kindlings trying to find their way in the world. Once, the war was fought with kindlings, elite magic-wielding warriors whose devastating power comes at a cost of their own young lives. Now, The war is over, and kindlings have been cast adrift, their magic outlawed, their skills outdated, their formidable Balar weapons prized only as relics and souvenirs. Violence still plagues the countryside, and memories haunt those who remain. When a village comes under threat of siege, it offers an opportunity for 7 kindlings to fight one last time. But war changed these warriors, and to reclaim who they once were, they have to battle their pasts, their trauma, and their grim fates to come together again, or none of them will make it out alive. So if you're looking for some war-torn soldiers trying to get by and pick up their swords for one last time, this is definitely a story for you. On February 27th, we have a new and revised version of The Elements of Fire and the Death of a Necromancer from Martha Wells, and this is going to be all combined into one book called the Book of Ile-Rien. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But this isn't the first time we have seen a Martha Wells book kind of get an updated and revised version release. Last year we got City of Bones from Martha Wells, get this revised updated edition. So it's great to see that they are doing it with her other work too. So this is pretty much 2 books for one. So if you're looking for some new fantasy from the author of the Murderbot Diaries, February 27th. And last but most certainly not least, on February 27th, we are getting the sequel to Empire of the Vampire, Empire of the Damned. I absolutely loved Empire of the Vampire, so I am so excited for this sequel. I was never interested in vampires, but after reading this, I now want more vampires in fantasy. But it's a sequel, so we will go over the synopsis for Book 1. It has been 27 long years since the last sunrise. For nearly 3 decades, vampires have waged war against humanity, building their eternal empire as they tear down our own. Now, only a few tiny sparks of light endure in a sea of darkness. Gabriel de Leon is a silver saint, a member of a holy brotherhood dedicated to defending realm and church from creatures of the night. But even the Silver Order could not stem the tide once daylight failed us, and now only Gabriel remains. Imprisoned by the very monsters he vowed to destroy, the last Silver Saint is forced to tell his story. A story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the wars of the Blood and the Forever King, and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. Just rereading that synopsis has me so excited for book 2 again. Damn it! If you haven't already, I do highly recommend checking this book out. It's not a book for everybody, but it's really good. And I do want to add on that the book club pick that we are reading on the Discord, which you can join free in the description, is This Is How to Lose the Time War. This was voted by Patreons. I don't really know that much about it. It is a novella, so it's really short, so you can fit in your TBR. You can join the discussions on the Discord. But let me know, what are you going to be reading in the month of February? Are you going to pick up one of these, or are you working on the backlog? And a huge thank you to my patrons who keep this channel alive. Over there is bonus videos, writing snippets of whatever I'm working on, and you also get to pick what books and then vote on what we read for the monthly book club. So thank you again, your support is huge. Thank you very much for watching. Outro. And as has become my duty, I will keep you up to date with all the books releasing in the month of fantasy. Where did I go wrong there? What? I don't know if any of that was right. Let's try that again.